Hey everyone, Stephanie Locricchio coming to you live from Children's Health Defense Community Corner. So excited to come to you tonight with some hope and a message of the road ahead for Connecticut, the rally recap. I had the honor and privilege of being there for several hours yesterday, and despite the outcome, I have to tell you that the camaraderie, the togetherness, the sense of hope that I felt being around my Freedom family, even during the darkest moments, knowing that more than likely this bill was going to be passed last night, there was such a sense of togetherness and love and peace. And that's what we need to hang on to. I got so many messages this morning from people who are super frustrated with what happened, scared for their own state. And listen, all of these feelings are valid feelings. If you're in the medical freedom movement, this last year or two has really been challenging to stay in a place of hope and faith, watching all these things happen around the country. And we all know that when something happens to one, it happens to all. So we feel for Connecticut, we know that there is a lot of work to be done, but I think that what happened in Connecticut is something that we're all going to learn from. Every time a state wins, loses, or draws, we take the information and what happened and we move forward and we learn and we take it and we do something better. So I want to bring in LeeAnn with her very shaky voice. She was screaming for I don't know how many hours yesterday. So I want to welcome LeeAnn Ducat from Informed Choice Connecticut to the stream. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure that you are exhausted today. You guys were there for quite a while. I hopped out around 4 o'clock, but I was following the stream from Connecticut, watching last night when I got home, and I was really upset when they went for the vote. I will admit I shed some tears, and my heart was in Connecticut at that moment. But speaking to you this morning and hearing the resilience and the hope in your voice and knowing that the road ahead is paved with a plan, that it doesn't stop here, even though the governor wasted no time signing the bill today into law. I wanted to hear from you, and first of all, just congratulate you on an event so well done. The speakers, the lineup, the organization, the little village that you created of food and porta potties and t-shirts. It was just it was like a festival. It was amazing. So thank you so much for all that you've done. Informed Choice Connecticut, the work that you all are doing is inspiring. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts as you look back on yesterday.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm going to try to speak as loud as I can, but my voice is shot. I was screaming into a microphone for 11 hours straight yesterday. I was screaming to the crowd to get louder. I was giving updates, as the Senate was giving me updates, I was giving updates to the crowd. We were amping them up the entire day. We were chanting to the people inside the building who could hear us. It was a really empowering, uplifting event. And, when I kind of saw the writing on the wall last year, when our bill got voted out of the Public Health Committee, I knew it was time to start being proactive and plan for the long game, because we watched what happened in California. We watched what happened in New York. We understood that the fallout from those two states falling was so catastrophic, and the hardship that families suffered was so terrible that I knew that we had to brace for impact here in Connecticut. So I reached out to Kevin Barry and Jim Ramirez and Connecticut Attorney Lindy Urso, and I said, I need you to be my cavalry. I need you to come in, and I need to start preparing for this legal challenge right away, because we are, we have almost Democrat supermajority in our House Assembly, but we do have a Democrat supermajority in the Senate. So that's how the governor was able to sign the bill so quickly today. He signed it right after lunch. There's no more exemptions to be filed in Connecticut as of today lunchtime. People have until September of 22 to get their child caught up on to start at least the first series of the catch-up schedule for their age group if they're in daycare or enrolling in any grade in Connecticut coming from out of state. There's not a lot of detail in the bill whether they're going to honor out-of-state exemptions or not, people moving in the state or not, because that would be considered a new enrollment. So upon new enrollment, you don't have the luxury of a religious exemption anymore. So yesterday, like you said, I was very blessed and grateful to have such amazing people come. And here's Jim Ramirez. Hi, Jim. Thank you. We were trying to, bring everybody together. And I said, I couldn't think of a more devastating thing to have happen than to watch this vote go down and everybody be home on a Zoom call by themselves. That would just have been so heartbreaking. And I said, if we're going down together. So I called Dell and I called Bobby and I just said, you guys, it's time. We've got to come together, and I've taken it as far as I can go. I need your help. And we were very blessed and grateful for the two of them, probably the busiest men in this movement, to fly across the country just to come speak for a half an hour and fly home was really, really wonderful. And, we owe a big debt of thanks to Bobby and Del for both coming out. And the rest of our speakers, all the religious leaders and the state leaders and the out-of-state speakers, our friends from New Jersey and California and New York and Massachusetts all came. And I was very inspired about how, we've been trying to warn people in Connecticut about being proactive, start making a plan, get your house in order. This is coming, make sure that your family isn't going to be, shell shocked when this happens. Have a contingency in place if possible. We understand that there's those outliers that simply just don't have an option or any wiggle room. And we certainly feel for those families and are willing to help and assist them in any way possible. But, yesterday was pretty intense, but we are ready to move forward in the way that we're going to make sure that our children are okay. We're going to make sure that they're not alone and isolated. We're going to make sure that, they have a way to be educated and be socialized without government, because at this point we're realizing the government doesn't welcome our children.
Yeah.
So we're going to rebuild. We're going to rebuild however we want. And we're not going to ask permission. We're going to make sure that we do it the right way and make sure our kids are safe and healthy and loved.
Well, I know with you in a leadership position in that state that our families, our Freedom Family in Connecticut, will be well taken care of, and you guys will build the environment and the infrastructure that we want our kids to have. We know that the schools are indoctrination camps. There's so many concerns with the regular schools as it is. The one thing I wanted to ask you, a lot of people today were talking about, well, it's better than New York because at least you have a grandfathering clause. And I have mixed emotions. I'm happy for the families that are going to be able to keep their kids in school that live there. But at the same time, I spoke to a dad yesterday who's like, the grandfathering clause doesn't help me because I have a 17-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. He's like, so my 2 older children will have the exemption in schools, but my younger child won't qualify. So we talked a little bit before we went live, and you made a really good point about the grandfathering clause. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we spoke about?
Yes. So, obviously I'm very relieved for the families who were fortunate enough to have children grandfathered in. I'm devastated for the families that grandfathering actually segregated, like you just mentioned. And it cuts our army in half. Yep. There's a lot of people who are going to be like, okay, my kids are just fine. And the point is that this war is not over. It's literally just begun. We've got some work ahead of us in order to get this back. And, Connecticut is in a very unique position to make sure that we, our laws are set up differently than Connecticut and New York. Than California and New York. So we're thinking that our chances in Connecticut look a lot more promising than they do in other states. It's still going to take a little while, like any litigation will. But I do want to back up really quick, and I want to give a shout out because I appreciate all the love and the credit. I could not have done this alone. And I had an amazing team and worked collaboratively with other medical freedom groups in Connecticut. Dr. Matthew Paterna of Health Choice Connecticut and Health Choice for Action was amazing. He was there 2 days after his father passed away, still giving all of it, and we cried together, we laughed together, we loved together, we hugged together. And I'm so grateful to have him there. We had the Connecticut Freedom Alliance there, and we had, Connecticut Residents Against Medical Mandates there, who is run by the niece of Rita Palma, New York Rita Palma. And so, we have a really great team here, and, all the behind the scenes people, some of them we don't announce to the public, but we have a really great team of people in Connecticut pulling that together. And I could not have done it without them. So we're very grateful to have them on board. I'm sorry.
It takes an army. It really does take an army. And I think that the unbelievable thing about the Freedom Family that we have is, like you said, Del and Bobby, who we know are busy running around. They hear the cry for help. They drop everything. They come. They're there. They were on fire yesterday.
Yes.
I watched them speak so many times. And yesterday, I don't know if it was the energy of the crowd. I mean, the message that they both brought yesterday was so touching, so inspiring. On point, like just fact after fact after fact, but in a way that really just lit you up inside, like knowing that all the censorship, all the mandates, everything that's happening, it's happening because they're trying to silence the people who are spreading the truth. So even though it feels like we might be losing, we're actually winning. And that's the message that I want everyone to get is we can't let this take us down. We have to make this make us stronger and bigger and more active and more engaged in this conversation, because we have their attention. This conversation is now happening on a national platform, on a national stage. We are a voting bloc, like Bobby said yesterday, and I think the more we continue doing the work that we're doing, the better it's going to be. So we have Kevin Barry that just popped in. I'm going to add him to the stream because he's been quietly sitting there. Hello, Mr. Kevin Barry.
Hey.
Thank you for being
here. Ladies.
I'm happy to see your face. I knew you had some technical difficulties, so I'm glad we got that all squared away and that you're here. Welcome. So we were just talking. What'd you say?
I said I was trying to go Ether to avoid this, and now I ended up on my phone. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as long as you're here, we're happy to have you. Thank you for coming here and joining us. Thank you for being in Hartford yesterday, when you spoke, everything you did. I saw you walking around, engaging with the crowd. I know that we got a chance to talk yesterday. We didn't get a chance to talk much before this live. So I know that you mentioned yesterday that there's going to be some legal action taken. I don't know how much you can divulge about what the plan ahead is for Connecticut, but I would love to hear from you a little bit in regards to the strategy ahead.
Yeah. There'll definitely be a legal challenge. We've been working on it for months and months. We're not going to file it until after the legislative session ends on June 6th. We think that's the strategically wise move, because the legislature can still, there are some technical processes they can use that would potentially strengthen the bill. We like it as it is. We want to get to the finish line of the legislature with no other changes that might impact us in court. So we don't want to telegraph our punch. So we're not going to file that because we think it would be foolish to go in haste and not wait until the legislature's over, because Connecticut, as you said, this is a national issue. We had national people there yesterday. In addition to Dell and Bobby, Josh Coleman flew in and brought his army with him. And, because there's still, even after today, which is a sad day, there's 43 more states that pharma's looking to take rights away from. And, the whole Northeast was there yesterday, and people from around the country. And any state that thinks that this is going to go down easy is wrong. And if we win this back in Connecticut, that will certainly go a long way towards winning it back, to getting it back in New York and California, and discouraging other states from trying.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Yeah, that's what we need.
They're coming. So I know a lot of people who have, packed up and hurried to rush to another state because either they saw it happening in their state or it already has happened in their state. The problem is that, wherever you head, it's gonna follow you. That it's typically happening in blue states right now, but if people don't think it's coming for them in a red state, they've got another thing coming. So if you're in a state where something isn't happening right now with regard to religious exemptions, I highly advise that you immediately start getting proactive now, making sure you're electing people into office that respect this religious freedom now. Run for office, support the candidates that are going to get in there. Even if nothing's happening in your state right now, it is coming. And you need to start now. I said yesterday after the vote happened, I didn't prepare any remarks, win, lose, or draw, because I just wanted the moment to be organic. And when it all happened, I grabbed the microphone, I looked at the crowd, and I said, November starts tomorrow. You get on the board, you start phone banking, you start stuffing envelopes, you start door knocking, you start donating, you start running. November starts tomorrow. Because if we don't do that, then, what's the point of fighting? We have to stack these seats with people who respect freedom. Our governments have fallen victim to regulatory capture, and, people are rapidly losing faith in government health authorities and taking it into their own hands. But while they're doing that, we're losing more members of the fight because they're doing that. We still need people to remain actively engaged. We still need people to be, do their civic duty. Freedom deserves fervent protection. And if you want freedom, you need to be responsible. You have to be responsible enough to maintain and fight for that freedom. If you are not fighting for freedom, you're doing it wrong.
So let me ask you a question, LeeAnn. Someone that's watching, that's living in a deep red state, that feels super comfortable, what steps can they take today, right now, in the midst of a very calm atmosphere? How can they get involved to make sure that they don't end up like California or New York or Connecticut or any of these blue states that are under attack?
I would say start learning your political landscape, and I'm sure Kevin has some great stuff to add too.
Yeah.
Start learning your political landscape. Learn who's voting and what they're voting on. Learn what the tenor of the conversation is in the communities. Start getting out there. Josh Coleman is a great example of breaking the barriers of censorship. There's a lot of information that the public did not know. People were finding out the day before this rally this was happening. School boards didn't know this was happening. Superintendents had no clue this was coming. So when somebody like Josh Coleman comes along and he's standing on a corner at a busy intersection and he's got all these people and these signs at big events, it's giving information that people don't know. And he said it yesterday, the information is how we're going to win this war. And every day we recruit more and more people just by giving them information. Information is power. And so that's really important. Make sure the community understands that this is happening in other states, that it's coming for their state. And, like I said, maintain those seats in office. Make sure the people that hold those seats that represent you are willing to lay everything on the line to vote no on any encroachment to religious freedom or other types of freedom. We have legislators in Connecticut that threw everything away. Their political careers, committee chairmanships, deputy speaker, House Speaker, they were in the running for. They lost it all, and they did it for the right reasons. And we really thank them. Ann Dauphinais, she's getting it from all ends, and she's been one of the most egregious opponents of this bill in our legislature, and we want to give a special shout out to her. But I'm sure Kevin has some other great proactive suggestions to add.
Would love to hear from you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Kevin couldn't hear us.
Can you hear us, Kevin?
I think Kevin's frozen.
That last bit was breaking up. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. We were actually just talking about if people are in red states and they feel like they're safe. LeeAnn was giving some tips on how they can get involved. We wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I'm hearing every other syllable. This is terrible.
Go out and come back.
But I about halfway. I'm just gonna rip. I like to quote that the Connecticut Mirror picked up on said is just going to the Supreme Court of the United States because no matter who loses in the first round, whether we lose or if the state loses, we're going to appeal or they're going to, and then the second round, third round. So the destination for this is why we have world class.
Kev.
Put in.
No, we can't hear you. So can you do me a favor? Can you go out and come back in? Yeah. Can you go out and come back in? Because we can't really hear you. You're like on a delay. Okay, there we go. He's going to go out and come back in. Okay. So
I do know what Kevin was referring to. He's referring to a quote in the Connecticut Mirror that picked up that he said yesterday, whether we lose or the state loses, this is going to be appealed by either us or the state until it gets to the United States Supreme Court. The attorneys that are involved, Jim Rodriguez, as you know, is kicking Cuomo's butt all over the courtrooms in New York. And he is so ready to rain down on Governor Lamont, and I can't wait. But, as you know, sometimes there are hiccups that everybody has to get through in order to get where they need to be. And we're willing to take it all the way. We have our fundraiser, which is on my website, informedchoicect.org. We have the lawsuit fundraiser. I think we've already got almost $70,000, put in the war chest, but it's going to take a lot to get there. And we are very excited to have so much love and support and people who have trusted us with their hard-earned dollars to kind of take it all the way and see what we can do with that. But we're very excited, and we definitely have been working hard already this last year on this lawsuit. We've even consulted some other behind-the-scenes attorneys who are very, very brilliant, and I'm very grateful to hear all the legal minds just kind of going back and forth about strategies and the way to go about it. So I'm feeling, excited about our chances. I don't like to say we're definitely going to win because honestly anything could happen, but I think our chances look pretty good in Connecticut, and it could set precedent for other places too.
It's amazing. And one thing that I think was interesting yesterday when we were listening to some of the speakers, this is a hot button item that comes up often. And Josh Coleman actually mentions it, because you hear people saying, oh, you know, if my kids get kicked out of school, I'm just going to homeschool. Like, it's just like, let's talk about that, because I've had this conversation with my very own sister who's moving from New York to New Jersey right now. And of course it gives me anxiety because, you know, New Jersey, we're quiet right now because it's an election year. Once the election happens and the seats are taken over, if things don't go the way that we want it to in New Jersey, we could very well be fighting for our lives like Connecticut did last night. And if that bill comes back, I don't think we're going to beat it a second time. So what would you say to people who kind of in this movement have taken this position of, well, if it happens, I'll just homeschool?
So I'll tell you something right now. Nothing that just happened in Connecticut in the last 24 hours affects my son. My son has been a homeschooler for 3 years and he has a medical exemption. Nothing affects my family that just happened. However, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew that as soon as the religious exemption was repealed in Connecticut, they're going to come for homeschoolers next. So complacent homeschoolers, like I said, if you exercise freedom, you have a responsibility and a civic duty to maintain it, to fight for it, and to work for it. Because there are people out there every day actively trying to take your freedom, to take control over your finances, over your family, over your children. You have a responsibility. So don't just say, I'm going to homeschool and not do anything to protect it, because they are coming for homeschoolers next. I am preparing this legal challenge, but I also have it on my back burner to know that I'm watching for the homeschooling regulation coming next. And as soon as that happens, there's going to be another battle on their hands, because the homeschoolers in Connecticut don't play.
Agree. And Kevin's back. And I also think that these bills that are eroding away at parental choice, and maybe Kevin, you could speak to this a little bit, you know, it opens the door for a lot of stuff that's very scary. Like, I got a note the other day from a teacher in Maryland who said that if children are not wearing their masks properly, that they're going to have them evaluated to make sure that they're not going to do harm to themselves or others. So I see the road ahead being that the school nurse, people inside of that building are going to somehow end up practicing medicine. It's like, well, your child can't sit still. So in order for them to come, they need to be on Ritalin, or they need to do this, or they need to do that. I had a story come in the other day of a woman whose son was in gym and had respiratory distress from being in gym with the mask on. She went to her physician to ask for a medical exemption to not wear the mask during gym, and was told that he couldn't do that, but he could prescribe albuterol so that they could administer albuterol to a perfectly healthy child before he took it. It's insane. So I want to know, Kevin, from a legal perspective, once parental choice is eroded and these bills start, I mean, people are like, well, I vaccinate, so it doesn't affect me. I homeschool, so it doesn't affect me. Once you start down this road, what becomes possible? Like, what are you most afraid of with this?
I'm most afraid of what's already happening, you know, and continuing this. But again, it's just, it's the nanny state. You know, it's you know, I believe it's Hillary Clinton whose quote was that the government raises your child, right? That it's not a parental responsibility, which is an absurdity. But I'm gonna go. I think you guys couldn't hear anything what I said before. Is that right? Okay, good. Yeah. That's why I could tell you were both happy. That must have been why.
It's much better, better.
But I do want to. Yeah, I got the Ethernet going. But what I want to say is, I think it's very important, is that this case, this Connecticut case, we're aiming at the United States Supreme Court, and we're going to, because no matter which side wins or loses in the first round, it's a guaranteed appeal. We will certainly appeal. The Connecticut Attorney General's office will tell you right now we're aiming at the U.S. Supreme Court, and we are hoping to win. We expect to win at the trial court level. But whether we do or we don't, we're going to appeal, and we know you will too. Because you will squander as many assets as you have to over chasing this tail. And I haven't seen the proper headline out of Connecticut yet that says Democratic Party removes religious exemption, because it was 22 senators, 22 all Democratic senators, and I think it was about 90 of the 97 votes in the assembly were Democrats, and the Democratic governor just signed it. And that saddens me. I'm a registered Democrat, and how this party, and Bobby's very articulate about how the Democratic Party has lost its way. it has lost its way badly, and there is no end once the bureaucracy gets a hold. And I said yesterday, no state, no teacher, no doctor knows a child like mom and dad, and everyone knows that, and how laws are being passed that with the absurd notion that state knows better than the family. That is literally fascism. Fascism is the country knows better than the individual. And the Nuremberg Code and the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights, those were designed to stop repeating the mistakes of history, and we've forgotten it. And a year-long pharma programming, very effective pharma programming through television networks, has led us to this position. And but there are, the constitutional rights that are being violated left and right. What happened in Connecticut in very broad strokes. There are three important state interests at stake. There's no argument that public health is an important interest, but so is the right to education, and so is religious liberty. And the Connecticut legislature and Governor Lamont today totally ignored religious liberty and the right to education in favor of their version of public health. And so far, their version of public health has been unchallenged press conferences, and that's not going to fly in court. That when our experts are asking the State Department health person to justify the chickenpox shot, that's going to be must-see TV.
It's bizarre. It really is out of control. And the thing about it that's so scary is there's approximately 250 vaccines in production. So now at this point, like anything that's added to the childhood schedule is automatically added to whatever it is you need to get in Connecticut. And one of the senators last night was talking about that. Like, there's kids in the school that have had vaccines. They may not have had all of them, but they have had some. And shouldn't it be the parents' right to decide which ones they want to give and which ones they don't? But we don't get to choose that anymore. It's like it's shoved down your throat. And either you take them all or you take none. And that's basically what they've boiled it down to at this point.
Right. And, the one other thing I said earlier, I just want to make sure because it seems like it got garbled, is we think it's very strategically important not to file any case until after the legislative session ends on June 6th, because there are some procedural things that could happen. They don't frequently happen in legislatures, but on this issue, you can't take anything for granted. That there is no depth to which they will not sink to get vaccine mandates passed. So as long as the legislature is in session and could possibly pass additional bills that a legal filing could expose flaws that could be fixed, we think it'd be unwise to take that route and be patient, wait till the session ends, and then hit them with the world-class experts.
I love it. I love the strategy. I'm so happy that we're doing something. The thing that everybody wants to know from all around the world is what can we do to help Connecticut, to help with the lawsuit, to help just in any way that we can to support you all.
Please help fund it. We are going to be we have access to world-class experts that we're going to be bringing in, and we have world-class attorneys on the legal team. We are also consulting with other attorneys who aren't on the legal team, but are brilliant and offering us excellent insight. That's the biggest thing right now, is to get the lawsuit funded. That way we have a cushion. We know we can work with it, and we're not struggling along the way to try to recuperate those funds as we're preparing legal challenges and exhibits and motions and things like that. So I think that's probably the most important thing. I think the next thing is, find out what people in Connecticut, if they need help, because there's a lot of families right now that are suffering, and reach out, offer a helping hand, offer some suggestions, see if there's, a way to help them adapt to what just happened to their families. look into your local homeschool co-ops, figure out what's going on. We want to support the families while they're going through this tough transition, because litigation, as you know, always isn't overnight. And it's going to take a little bit. So these families are going to go through a tough transition. So funding and just support, moral support, mutual commiserations are very helpful. And I'm sure Kevin has some more suggestions.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is the main one. And as difficult as it was back in like December, January to kind of see the writing on the wall in doing vote counting and just looking at the heat map and seeing where the vote likely was and listening to the leadership. The Senate president, the Assembly Speaker, the governor were all very on record as saying they wanted this. So we took the initiative of starting the legal fund as a contingency, so we wouldn't be flat-footed today if today ever happened. We fought as hard as we possibly could, and I love Ann Rosen's a great writer. She came out from New Jersey yesterday. And I saw she put a phrase on Facebook today that I thought was great. Said that Connecticut fought like a mother.
I love
we sure did.
And she left the next word out, but you don't really need it because you're all fighting like mothers, like for their children.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's great. And that was happening. And the dads, and not to leave out the dads, right? But
there were so many dads there.
Yeah, right. And again, it was heartwarming to me to see people from all over the country. And I heard you mention Bobby and Dell. Josh Coleman came in too. I saw people from all over New England. There were tons of New Jersey people, lots of New York people, Massachusetts. So I think any state that's considering doing this knows that it's not going to go down easy.
No, any state that's considering doing this, we are going to make this as painful and embarrassing for the proponents of bills like this as possible.
And the ideal plan going forward, if we're successful in Connecticut, not only will that help restore it in New York and potentially California, but it will also highly discourage other states from trying.
Absolutely. And I think we have the model down of what it looks like to resist and to create these amazing, voices and rallies and this momentum leading in. The disappointing thing is when you have these situations and you see, what was it, about 5,000 people? Did we get a number on how many people actually showed up?
Capitol Police said we were just shy of 5,000 people based on what they do is they take the drone, they measure the size of the crowd, and they do some math from there. So they said it was just shy of 5,000 people. And I want to give a shout out to the Capitol Police in Connecticut. Over the last 6 years since we started this, and we knew this was coming 6 years ago, they have been so accommodating to our community and so supportive and making sure that we have every access available to us to redress our government. When I'm throwing a rally with 5,000 people and the trash guy's got to come and get his dumpsters and we don't know where we're going to put the trash and we got to figure that problem out in 10 minutes between speakers, they were so great with helping us, be accommodating. And shout out to Capitol Police in Connecticut. They are amazing, amazing people.
They really were.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the Capitol Police in all of these rallies, they're learning that this community is like baby wearing patchouli oil. Like it's more hippie than terrorists. And the media is like, oh, the anti-vaxxers, no, there's you're going to get more information about holistic eating at these things than you are about anything else.
That was funny. Del mentioned organic vegetables and sunshine, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a great point."
It said mandate vegetables, and I'm like, I need to have that in my life. By the time I went back to find it, they were gone. But yeah, it's true.
Link to that shirt.
But I mean, I think the Capitol Police comes there. I was like, okay, we better be braced for something, and then instead they're being handed healthy snacks. So I think they've come to look forward to the days of these rallies because they get taken care of.
And I was wondering when people were talking, you could see that they're actively listening and absorbing what's happening. So the beautiful thing about what we do is we're educating people that otherwise may never be exposed to the type of information that we're putting out there. So it's a win-win.
They do listen every time we come there. And over the last 6 years, some of those guys have become like family to us. In fact, some of them, they'll come up and whisper in my ear, I didn't get my shingle shot in my physical this year, or I stopped getting flu shots, or I told my daughter not to vaccinate our grandbaby. and things like that. And they're showing me pictures of their grandbabies. And I actually had one Capitol police officer approach me yesterday and said, I'm one of few who didn't get the jab on the team, and we all support choice, but I'm a little concerned if they mandate what to do. And he said, give me your, take my phone number right now and I'll hook you up with some good attorneys. So he took my cell phone number yesterday and he's like, I'll be calling you if they put a mandate down.
Yeah, and this is one other thing that ties in to your earlier question, Steph, about I think where this movement's going, and I'm going to be coming out with something soon on this. Is I think it's headed on an anti-discrimination model. It's not. I for one am tired of trying to convince anybody of anything. You don't have to agree with my vaccination stance. You just can't discriminate against me for it. And I had this side conversations with Jamel Holly and Kevin Jenkins and Aaron Lewis. It's when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 happened, it didn't end racism, but it stopped official discrimination against African Americans, right? And that's what we need. I don't care. Call me anti-vaxxer all you want, but don't keep my kid out of school. Don't say I can't get a passport. You have whatever opinion you want. Call me a pejorative. Call me a name. I don't care. Shrug it off. But if you discriminate against me, I'll see you in court.
Right.
And if we get that in writing, change the laws, then we don't have to do this. We don't have to rely on judges trying to interpret murky laws and fixing stupid things like the Connecticut legislature did. And a shout out to Stu Warner, who spoke yesterday, and I very much liked it. A fair amount of legislators tested positive for stupid.
I love that.
They did, right? Because there's no justification for this. There's no justification, and it was obvious during that 13-hour hearing that there's no justification for this, because Representative Steinberg, who was trying to defend it, all he ever said was, "We're being proactive," which means we have no reason to do it now. But we have the boogeyman's out there, and we're warding off the boogeyman.
Well, they're riding the wave of fear. That's the truth. It's like the conversation, hey, let's keep the fear mongering going and just ram this through as quickly as possible, like ripping off the Band-Aid, not asking any of the questions. I mean, when I was leaving, one of the legislators was asking mindful questions that nobody had the answers to. Like, you would think that when 10,000 families, childhood education is at stake, that you'd want to have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed before passing something like this. But it was the same thing in New Jersey. Like, we'll pass it now and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. You can't put lipstick on a pig. You can't make a bad bill better. It's just a bad.
I also ran into Rabbi Zev Epstein was here yesterday. He spoke a little bit, and I got to compliment him on the great line he had while testifying in Trenton, New Jersey. He started off saying that he had oatmeal for breakfast, and there's no oatmeal injury compensation fund. That's how he knows oatmeal is safe. and then when his grandchild went to get a vaccine, there is a vaccine injury compensation fund, and that's why he's concerned about vaccine safety. And even the hardest legislator, even Sweeney's sitting there. It's like, Sweeney's, that's a good one, again. So the idea that vaccines are safe and effective, you only hear that when the money's coming into the pharmaceutical companies. But when the compensation could be coming out for injuries, it magically morphs into unavoidably unsafe. So again, in very broad strokes, the case is going to be, the legal case is going to be, what about these other two fundamental rights? Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about the Jacobson case from 1905, Jacobson didn't involve school or the right to education. It didn't involve religious liberty. It wasn't statewide. It was just Cambridge. And Jacobson was facing, as a consequence of not getting the vaccine, a $5 fine. So that's very different than what happened yesterday.
And what do you think, Kevin, in regards to these vaccine passports and how all these states stripping away, starting with the children, talk about the bigger picture of where we're going as a country when it comes to moving about the cabin. Like, we're not mandating it, but you can't do this long list of things. So it's like the have and the have-nots. Like, you have your vaccine ID card, your VIP, come this way. I got this, this, and this for you. You don't got it? Sorry, you can't come in here.
Yeah, let me get the accuracy of the quote from the Los Angeles Times today.
Oh.
The cover, give me a second. Again, my phone, it's not, if you're hearing that little sound in the background,
it's me texting.
It's nonstop. It's been nonstop for like the last 4 years.
I don't even want to look at my phone because every time I pick it up, there's like 172 text messages on it. And
I just texted you too.
but bear with me. This is good or
Okay.
bad or horrible. What's the CDC's take? Let's see if that works. CDC, what's not going to work?
I'm not going to see
Trust me. The cover of the Los Angeles Times: CDC's take: vaccination equals liberty.
Ugh. Well, there was something today in my news feed from UNICEF, and it's like this party video of look at all the things you could do when you get your vaccine. You can go to concerts, you can travel, you can be with your family, you can give grandma a hug. Like, it's just this whole marketing.
It's settling the debate like from the 16 and 1700s of where your rights come from, right? Is it from the ruler? Is it from the king? Is it from God? Or now it's been clarified it's from Merck. Like your rights come from your rights come from the pharmaceutical industry, right?
Yep.
And that's the cover of a major newspaper, right? That the vaccination equals liberty equals freedom. That's crazy. That's crazy. And we got to get the courts to understand that, and we perhaps more importantly, and this is part of the new thing I'm going to be doing, is we need to change the laws in fundamental ways. So in places that are welcome to, or open to it, which will certainly start in red states and hopefully spread to blue, and then ultimately to the federal government, then we can all go home, right? As long as you can't, when you can't discriminate against someone on vaccination status or medical choices, that we can all go back to our lives, right? We can still hang out, we can have an annual picnic, right? But we wouldn't have to be fighting this all day, every day against the industry. We need to restore the balance. That's what I think the future holds. We need to restore the balance back to like the individual, because individual liberty, that's the source of prosperity. That's the secret sauce of America, and it's very quickly like going into corporate directions that and again, I'm tired of trying to get judges to fix stupid things politicians do, right? So in places where politicians are less owned or less stupid, change the laws to clarify that for judges, and then the sucking sound of all the people moving to those states might make the states that the people are leaving recognize they're doing it wrong.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so thankful that we have amazing warriors and attorneys dedicating their resources, effort, and time to this really important issue, because it is the time right now for us to fight. They say it's always darkest before the dawn, and I believe that we are on the precipice of the new civil rights movement. It's here, and we are going to be in the history books. There's no question in my mind that what is happening right now, we will look back one day and read about all these people that stood outside, the anti-vaxxers, whatever they want to call us, fighting for our bodily autonomy, for our religious freedom, for our parental choice. So I'm so thankful to have you guys spend some time with me. Any closing thoughts that you have?
Yeah, well, I have two. One is a shout out to Jim Ramirez and Lindy Urso. They're brilliant guys and they're fun to work with. And a silver lining on all the cases that Jim Ramirez has been fighting, that attracted a lot of attention of world-class experts like I'm choking on the Great Barrington Declaration people. So they've already been experts on Jim's cases. So we do have access to the best people in the world with the highest level of credentials, and they'll be part of our case. And so that one should be that's important, right? We're going to be we're coming in with the highest caliber people, right? And also that I think it's important. And it's the main message we wanted to get across yesterday, because we kind of saw this coming, is that this is a battle. Like, it was a battle we lost. It wasn't a battle that we ever could win just on the numbers. If the party leaders were going to exert the pressure on the rank and file, then if that makes it hard for the rank and file to stand up, and they didn't stand up. And it makes me sad that there are people in elected office. Like, if you're not going to stand up for the religious beliefs of a kindergartner, the family of a kindergartner, you're going to kick that person out of school. Mm-hmm. Like, if you won't stand up to your party bosses on that issue over religious liberty and access to public school, those are two of the best things America has, and they're taking it away for no reason. For proactive, right? If you can't stand up for that, why run for office, right?
Agreed.
Agreed. And the last thing is a little negative. I'm gonna put some negativity out there. The religious leaders in Connecticut failed Connecticut. They failed New York. They failed California. They failed Maine. How many times are the religions going to? For how long will you let the government tell you you're not essential? For how long will you let a religious freedom be taken away and be silent? The end road of this is your tax exempt status will be removed, right? And when that happens, it'll be. Remember those religious exemptions? Perhaps you should have said, we have zero tolerance for the secular state taking away our rights. And they need the rest of the country wake the F up.
Yes, please. Absolutely. LeeAnn, do you have any closing thoughts? I know that you have to hop off.
Yeah, I have to go. I need an Epsom salt bath. I feel like I've been hit by a truck and I need a cup of tea. So I just want to say, please don't give up on Connecticut. We may have lost the battle, but we still have a war to win. And, thank you. I just want to say thank you. I know that there's people I did not thank on this call that I may have forgotten. I sincerely apologize. My brain is scrambled eggs and toast after yesterday. But I'm just so grateful for all the freedom fighting family that we have all over the country and the world that have reached out, that have sent love, that have donated. I just got a notification our fundraiser is just over $70,000. We're about halfway there. So I see the notifications coming in. So I know people are watching this, and I know that they're supporting us just by watching that. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone, because, this is not over, and I cannot wait to gut punch these people in court. I really just can't.
Yeah. And I'm gonna
not literally.
Figuratively, yes.
Yeah, just to feed on what LeeAnn just said. Like, not only don't forget about Connecticut, it's going to be the center of this issue universe over the next year, right? This is Farmers Waterloo.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah,
it's really going to be something.
For being here, for being a stand for freedom, for doing the work, and I'm just so thankful for our freedom family. Like, it truly gives me so much comfort to know that you're all out there doing this work with me. So I will let you both, LeeAnn, take care of yourself. Susan Eaton wants to send you elderberry syrup, so connect with her. We all want to take care of each other. Yes, so I will definitely make sure she reaches out to you. And Kevin, thank you so much for being on. Please keep us updated if there's anything that you want to come back live to share. We're always here. Your voice is so important and so appreciated.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank
Kevin. You can go on firstfreedoms.org, check out his work, what he's doing. Definitely
donate to firstfreedoms.org. Donate.
Yes,
Kevin has been one of the greatest offensive coordinators that Connecticut could ask for. And I couldn't be more grateful for the time and energy that he has sacrificed to help us here in Connecticut. He really is a true warrior, and I couldn't have done a lot of what I did without him. So thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate you.
We love you, Kevin.
We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
So if you're watching and you're living in a state right now, if you're in New Jersey and you're not currently engaged in what's happening in our state with our elections, I implore you to please get involved, follow what's happening. We need to make sure that we turn the tide on where we are from a legislative perspective to ensure that we do not have the same issue that Connecticut, California, New York, all these states have faced. We've been lucky so far this year that they have not brought it back, but I don't want anyone to feel a sense of security. And for those of you that are thanking me for going to Connecticut, we all need to be together. It does not matter if it's Connecticut, if it's Virginia, if it's Maryland. If you can get in your car and drive to support a state that's under attack with their freedoms, just know that we are all connected in this global freedom family, and we need to make sure that we are there to support each other, to be there in times of crisis, to help and contribute in whatever ways we can. So if you're in another state, if you're across the country, if you live in another country, please make sure that you go on and that you donate to the fundraiser that they're working on right now. It is so important that we support this. This case could literally change the face of the battle that we're fighting all across the globe right now when it comes to vaccines and mandates and everything that we're facing. So get involved in the conversation, speak up, stand up, rise up, be the change that you wish to see in the world, and know that your voice and your actions do make a difference. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for being here. For those of you that came yesterday to Hartford, it was amazing to see all of you, to get hugs, to be in the same space with you, to feed off your energy. Know that for every single person that you lose along the way when you're doing this work, because we do lose people, you gain so much more. So stay with it, stay in it. Know that I am sending you all so much love, so much light, and we will win. So keep the faith and make sure that you stay engaged in this really important conversation. Now is the time for us to win. I love you all. Have a fabulous rest of the night. Stay in touch. More updates to come, and I will see you soon. Take care.